Hey guys, I'm JC and today we're playing Rionya Fire Dancer. This deck looks to resolve key creatures, cast a lot of instants and sorceries, and then make a huge token army of one of those creatures to take out its opponents. If you want to build this deck yourself, then make sure to stop by the channel where we have a deck tech as well as other gameplay videos showing how the deck was built as well as how it plays out. In addition, we also have a Discord with a channel dedicated specifically to Rionya, so if you'd like to discuss the deck further, make sure to check out the link in the description below. Let's see if we can stoke the flames and get this fire dance going. Alrighty guys, let's see who we're playing today. We have Svyelun of Sea and Sky, we have Tayam Luminous Enigma, and finally we have Iroas God of Victory. Alright, let's take a look at this opening hand. I like it quite a bit. We do have two lands. We have Harmonic Prodigy, which can essentially double Rionya's trigger, always very powerful. We got some card draw. We have a finisher in our hand as well as a mana accelerant in Runaway Steamkin, so very, very strong keep. Iroas gets the game going by playing a Castle Ardenvale tapped for turn, so they will be able to make tokens with it. And that is it for their turn. We draw a Witty Roastmaster for turn, another win con in our hand. Alright, let's play our land tapped, and then we'll pass it on right over. Svyelun plays a land. And then they cast Aquatex Will. Put a flood counter on target land. That land is an island in addition to its other types for as long as it has a flood counter on it. If you control a merfolk, draw a card. And they did target the Castle Ardenvale there. Thankfully didn't hit our land. But that's going to be it for them. Tayam plays a Temple Garden, but they have it come into play tapped. And then they pass the turn. Iroas plays a land. And then they cast an Arcane Signet. And then they follow that up with a Soul Guide Lantern. When it ETBs, exile target card from a graveyard. Tap it, sacrifice Soul Guide Lantern, exile each opponent's graveyard, and one tap, sacrifice Soul Guide Lantern, draw a card. So now when it ETBs, they are going to exile the Aquatex Will, and that's going to be it for their turn. We draw a Valakut Awakening for turn. Let's start by playing our Mountain, and then I think we want to get our Runaway Steamkin on the battlefield as soon as possible so we can start getting counters on it and hopefully eventually generating us some mana. That'll set us up for a really explosive turn with Rionya, provided it does stick, and that is going to be it for us. Svyelun plays a land, and then they cast a River Sneak. It can't be blocked, and whenever another merfolk ETBs under your control, River Sneak gets +1/+1 until end of turn. But then they end the turn there. Tayam plays a land, and then they cast a Life from the Loam. Return up to 3 target land cards from your graveyard to your hand, and it has Dredge 3. Then they pass the turn. Iroas plays a land, and now they cast their commander, Iroas God of Victory. Indestructible as long as your devotion to red and white is less than 7. It isn't a creature. Creatures you control have menace and prevent all damage that would be dealt to attacking creatures you control. And that is going to be it for their turn. We draw a land for turn. So let's start by playing our Valakut Awakening as a land, just why it isn't going to hurt us too much. And then we'll follow that up with our Harmonic Prodigy. That will trigger our Runaway Steamkin to give it a +1/+1 counter. Now we'll move to combat. We'll send the Steamkin towards the Iroas player. They're the player most ahead at the moment. And then from here we'll just ship the turn over. Svyelun plays a land for turn. Now we see them cast their commander, Svyelun of Sea and Sky. It has Indestructible as long as you control at least 2 other merfolk. When it attacks, draw a card, and other merfolk you control have Ward 1. When it ETBs, that's going to trigger their River Sneak. So now it'll get +1/+1 until end of turn. Now they move straight to combat. The River Sneak goes towards the Tayam player. They take the damage, knocking them down to 38, and that is going to be it for the Svyelun player. Tayam plays a land, and now they cast Takesha's Welcome. Whenever one or more creatures with mana value 3 or less ETBs under your control draw a card, this ability triggers only once each turn. And that is going to be it for them. Iroas plays a fetch land for turn. They crack it immediately. They put a Plateau into play. But they are just leaving the turn there with all their mana up. We draw a Reckless Impulse for turn. So let's start by playing our Mountain. And then I think we'll cast our Fanatic of Mogis. It's the most mana efficient play, and it will also trigger our Runaway Steamkin as well as double a trigger thanks to Harmonic Prodigy. So casting that does trigger Runaway Steamkin. As we mentioned earlier, that's going to trigger twice thanks to Harmonic Prodigy. So that'll be 6 damage in total that our opponents will take here. Now we'll move to combat. We'll just send our Steamkin towards the Tayam player. I don't want to get caught by the Iroas player in case they flash a creature in that could block our Harmonic Prodigy. Better to play it safe here because Harmonic Prodigy is such a powerful piece in this deck, it's not worth risking it just for 1 damage. Tayam goes down to 29, and then we're going to pass the turn from here. Svyelun plays a land for turn, a Rogue's Passage, so they can give a creature unblockable. Now they cast Thada Adel Acquisitor. It has Island Walk, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, search that player's library for an artifact card and exile it. Then that player shuffles. Until end of turn, you may play that card. Now when it ETBs, it does trigger River Sneak. Next, they move to combat. Svyelun goes towards us, and the River Sneak goes towards the Iroas player. Now that does trigger Svyelun, so they'll be able to draw a card. We're going to take the damage. That knocks us down to 37. And that is going to be it for the Svyelun player. Tayam plays a land for turn, a Strip Mine. And now they cast their commander, Tayam Luminous Enigma. But it looks like the Iroas player has a response here. And they're activating their Castle Ardenvale just to make a 1/1 white human creature token. Tayam says each other creature you control ETBs with an additional vigilance counter on it. And then you can pay 3 and remove 3 counters from among creatures you control. Mill 3 cards, then return a permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. And that is going to be it for their turn. Iroas plays a fetch land for turn. They crack it right away. They put a snow-covered mountain into play. Now they move to combat. Their token goes towards us. We're just going to take the damage here. I'm not too worried about 1 damage, especially in case they have any combat tricks. I don't want to lose any of the creatures we have on board. And it looks like they do have a response here, so let's see what they've got for us. And they cast a Magma Quake. X equals 4. Magma Quake deals 4 damage to each creature without flying and each planeswalker. Well, that's a big shame for us, unfortunately. We lose our entire board here. So we were very close to popping off. Just 1 turn too slow. So we'll definitely be testing Rionya's grindy game here. We take the damage going down to 36. And that is it for their turn. We draw a Seize the Day. Alright, well now that the game is going longer, we definitely need to make our land drops. So let's start by casting our Reckless Impulse. And thankfully we do hit a land as well as a Fury of the Horde. A little bit of a shame we're probably going to lose that, but that's okay. Let's play that mountain for turn. And then let's cast our Witty Roastmaster. And that is going to be it for us. Svyelun plays a land for turn. Next, they cast an Everflowing Chalice Kick 2 times. So it's a mana rock that will tap for 2 colorless now. And then they cast a Fire Shrieker. A crit creature has double strike. And that is going to be it for their turn. Tayam starts by casting their Life from the Loam, targeting their 2 lands. Next, they play one of those lands for turn. And then they cast Nakara Lair Scavenger, Menace. Whenever another creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had 1 or more counters on it, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Now when it ETBs, it will trigger itself as well as Takesha's Welcome, so they can draw a card. It looks like they do have Yannick in their deck, so they will put that to hand. And that is going to be it for them. Iroas starts by just moving straight to combat. They send their human token towards us once again. We'll have to take the damage, so we go down to 35. And it looks like they're once again passing the turn with all their mana open. And we draw a Crimson Wisps for turn. Alright, well I think here's the point we go for it. We try to resolve Rionya, and then if we can keep it around for 1 turn, we might still be able to pop off the turn after. We just have to hope it sticks around. But I don't want to waste the cards in our hand just continually drawing. We really need to hold on to those for Rionya. It is risky doing it against Iroas with all their open mana, but we certainly can't play too carefully, especially that's not the way this deck was designed. It was designed to go hard and fast. Now when Rionya does ETB, it triggers Witty Roastmaster, so each opponent will take 1 damage. Now we'll move to combat and Rionya will trigger, targeting the only creature we can. We will get 1 copy of that, hit each opponent with 1 damage once again. We'll send our original Witty Roastmaster towards Svyelun, and then our copy towards the Iroas player. And then we'll just pass the turn from here. On our end step, Rionya does trigger and the token will go away. Svyelun starts their turn by recasting their commander. And after that, they move to equip their Fire Shrieker to their commander. And then they pass the turn from there. Tayam starts their turn by activating their Strip Mine, targeting the Castle Ardenvale. And it looks like Iroas has a response here. They might be activating the land, or possibly casting a spell that they've been planning to hold up. No, they do activate their land instead. We'll make a 1/1 white human creature token. Now Strip Mine will destroy that land. After that, they play a land for turn. And then they cast Yannick Scavenger Sentinel. It has Vigilance. When it ETBs, exile another creature you control until Yannick leaves the battlefield. When you do, distribute X 1/1 counters among any number of target creatures, where X is the exiled creature's power. Now they do use that ETB trigger to actually exile Nakara there. And they put all the 1/1 counters on Yannick itself. But after all that, they pass the turn. However, on their end step, it looks like Iroas does sacrifice their Soul Guide Lantern, exiling each opponent's graveyard, which is going to be a little sad for the Tayam player, because they did lose a few good cards there, particularly their Strip Mine and their Sun Titan. And now we move to the Iroas player's turn. They start by casting a Loyal Apprentice. It has haste, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. That token gains haste until end of turn. Now they move to combat. That does trigger their Loyal Apprentice. Looks like the Apprentice is going towards Tayam. A human token's going towards Svyelun. And that is it. Both opponents just have to take the damage because they can't block. And then that's going to be it for their turn. Alright, well thankfully Rionya did survive a turn cycle. I mean, Iroas does have open mana, so they certainly could kill her at the opportune moment, which is always a risky thing about playing Rionya. We draw a Breya's Apprentice for turn, which is actually quite nice. So let's start by casting our Crimson Wisps. We'll just target Rionya here. And we get ourselves an Arcane Signet. Right, next we'll cast Crash Through. See what else we draw. And we get ourselves an Ardent Elementalist. Well, that could be useful in the late game in case the board does get wiped again or Rionya gets removed and we need to refill our hand. So now I think we'll move to combat. Rionya will trigger. And luckily that does go through. So we make 3 copies of Witty Roastmaster, which puts all those triggers on the stack. So that should take a decent chunk out of our opponent's life totals. Now we'll send all the token copies of Witty Roastmaster towards the Iroas player. And it looks like they decide to block with their human token as well as Thopter token. And that does knock them down to 11, as well as Tayam in at 16 and Svyelun at 19. And then after that, we're going to cast our Breya's Apprentice. When that ETBs, that's going to trigger our Witty Roastmasters, as well as Breya herself to make a 1/1 Thopter. So we should get our opponents pretty low here. And the Thopter ETBs, that puts another 4 triggers on the stack. So now our opponents are down to 3, 8 and 11 respectively. And I think we can just leave the turn there. On our end step, Rionya does trigger and all our Witty Roastmasters go away. Now we can pass it to the Svyelun player. And no doubt all of our opponents' alarm bells are going off. If their eyes weren't on us before, they certainly are going to be now. Let's just hope we've done enough to be able to get the job done next turn. Svyelun starts by casting Seafloor Oracle. Whenever a Merfolk you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Next, they cast a Merfolk Spy. It has Island Walk, and whenever Merfolk Spy deals combat damage to a player, that player reveals a card at random from their hand. Now they move to combat. Svyelun swings towards us. That also triggers Svyelun, so they get to draw a card. We will block with our Thopter token to prevent them from drawing any more cards. And that is going to be it for them. Tayam starts by playing an Orzhov Basilica for turn, which when it ETBs means they will have to return a land to their hand. Now they move to combat. Yannick swings towards us. This time we will take the damage. That knocks us down to 30. And that is going to be it for them. It looks like Iroas has something on their end step. They cast an Enlightened Shooter. Search your library for an artifact or enchantment card, reveal it, then shuffle and put that card on top. Okay, well they might be able to find an answer to what we're doing. Let's see what they get. And it looks like they just get themselves a Soul Ring. Okay, maybe they have an answer for what we're doing in their hand. Perhaps another board wipe. But either way, I guess we'll find out because now we move to their turn. They start their turn by casting the Soul Ring they shooted for. And now they cast a Mizium Mortars. It looks like Overloaded. It deals 4 damage to each creature you don't control. Which unfortunately for us is just enough to wipe our board. So that will go through. We don't have any responses to that. Seems the Iroas player does survive by the skin of their teeth, at least at the moment. Rionya will go back to the command zone. Now they move to combat. That triggers Loyal Apprentice. So they'll make another Thopter token. Looks like the humans coming our way. And so is the Apprentice. And the Thopter token as well. We'll have to take the damage. And that knocks us down to 26. And that is going to be it for their turn. We draw a mountain for turn. And very thankfully, now that we just had our board wiped, we really need access to mana. So let's start by playing our mountain. Next, we'll cast our Arcane Signet. And after that, we'll cast our Ardent Elementalist. And we're going to put our Crash Through back in hand. And that is going to be it for our turn. Svyelun plays a land for turn. Next, they cast a Tidal Courier. When it ETBs, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Put all Merfolk cards revealed this way into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. And then for 4 mana, you can give it flying until end of turn. And let's see what they revealed. Well, it looks like they did get 1 hit off Emperor Mihail II. They do have enough mana to cast it as well. And that's exactly what they do. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast Merfolk spells from the top of your library. And whenever you cast a Merfolk spell, you may pay 1. If you do, create a 1/1 blue Merfolk creature token. But that's going to be it for them. Tayam plays a land. But then they move straight to combat. Yannick swings towards us. We're not going to block here, so we'll take the damage. That puts us down to 21. It looks like they're just going to pass the turn there, leaving all their mana open. Iroas starts by playing a land for turn. Next, they move to combat. That triggers Loyal Apprentice. And it looks like they're swinging everything they have at us once again. So the clock's certainly on for us, that's for sure. Once again, we're just going to take the damage. That puts us down to 16. And it looks like Iroas is also passing the turn, leaving their mana up. Definitely going to be swimming in dangerous waters here, that's for sure. Not knowing what our opponents may have for us, but either way, all eyes are on us, so we don't have time to play it slow. We have to try to get as aggressive as we can, as quickly as we can. Let's just start by recasting Rionya. Now we'll move to combat. And it looks like Tayam does have a response for us. They held up a Path to Exile target in Rionya. Exile target creature, its controller may search their library for a basic land card, put that card on the battlefield, tap, and shuffle. So unfortunately that will go through. We will find ourselves a basic mountain, make it easy to get Rionya back on the battlefield. But we will still move to combat. We will swing at the Iroas player, try to get them out of this game as quickly as possible. It looks like Iroas does have a response. So they may have another instant speed board wipe for us. No, instead they cast a Teferi's Protection. Until your next turn, your life total can't change and you gain protection from everything. All permanents you control phase out and exile Teferi's Protection. Well, I suppose we do get that out of their hand now, but I don't know how much it's going to help us, because the opponents are probably still going to be hitting us down pretty low. So combat will obviously fizzle now. And then we'll have to pass the turn from here. Svyelun plays a land for turn. Next, they cast a Salvager of Secrets that triggers their Emperor, so they can pay 1 to make a Merfolk. But they decide not to. When Salvager ETBs, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. They don't have any targets for that, so it is just a body on the ground, unfortunately. And then they cast a Master of Waves, which also triggers their Emperor. But they won't be able to pay. Has protection from red, elemental creatures you control get +1/+1, and when it ETBs, create a number of 1/0 blue elemental creature tokens equal to your devotion to blue. So now when it ETBs, they're going to make 6 elementals. Quite a big board state now, that's for sure. Now they move to combat. Looks like we have the courier coming our way, their commander as well. That'll be 4 total damage. We'll have to take it because we have no blockers. That knocks us down to 12. And that is going to be it for their turn. Tayam starts by casting life from the loan. They have no lands in their graveyard, so it looks like they just want to get it into their graveyard to be able to dredge with it. Unfortunately, the Tayam player's graveyard has looked pretty poor most of the game. Next, they cast a Conclave Mentor. If 1 or more 1/1 counters will be put on a creature you control, that many +1/1 counters are put on that creature instead, and when it dies, you gain life equal to its power. When that ETBs, that triggers Takeshia's Welcome, so they'll draw a card. Next, they play a land for turn, but it comes into play tapped. Now they move to combat, and it looks like they're swinging in towards us, which they may as well do. They do have Vigilance. We can't block, so we'll take the 5 damage. And that knocks us down to a very unhealthy 7. But that is going to be it for their turn. So now when we go to the Iroas player's turn, they do phase back in. Next, they cast Aurelia the War Leader. Flying Vigilance Haste. Whenever Aurelia attacks for the first time each turn, untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. Well, that could be trouble for us. That means that if they want to, they can just swing out at us for 2 combats and actually kill us. Not too sure if they'd want to though, because they are just going to be dead on the crackback, but it looks like Tayam does have a response. And now they cast a Teferi's Protection of their own. So they don't even want to give the Iroas player an option of being able to swing at them. Now notably, when Aurelia does come in, that does actually animate Iroas as well. So they don't even need to swing all out here. They can just swing with their commander and we're out of the game. So unfortunately, I think we had a good run, but I think we're done here. And now they do move straight to combat. That triggers Loyal Apprentice. Looks like Aurelia is going towards Svyelun. So is a Thopter token. Now they're also sending a Thopter token towards us too, in fact. Surprised there. I'm really not too sure why they just don't swing Iroas at us. Okay, they're sending Iroas as well. So a little bit inefficient in their choices there. I don't think there's really anything we could have at instant speed with no mana open that could be some sort of trick. But either way, we're definitely done here. Now when they do attack, that also triggers Aurelia. So now all their creatures untap. That knocks us out of the game. Now they move to combat once again. It looks like Aurelia is going towards Svyelun. So is a Thopter token again. So is 2 Thopter tokens. In fact, 3, 4. And that should be enough to actually take Svyelun out. And it does, so Iroas knocks out 2 players in 1 turn there. Really nice job, and so now we have a 1v1 versus the Tayam and Iroas player. Now they will have to try to find an answer to this board state here, otherwise Iroas is just going to take the game. Especially considering all their creatures do have Menace. Now they do start the turn by playing a land. But it looks like the Tayam player didn't have an answer and they just conceded the game to Iroas. Alright guys, well that is the game done. Let's go to the review and discuss what happened. So this game was the perfect demonstration of both Rionya's strengths and weaknesses. Her strengths were definitely shown when we almost took the entire table out by turn 5, even after our board had already got wiped, and had it not been wiped, I think we definitely would have had them that turn. But we also saw its weakness as the game went long, something any aggro deck doesn't want to happen. Having our board wiped twice and our commander removed once with single target removal made it very hard for us to get back in the game, especially once our opponents decided to focus us down with combat damage. So let this be a lesson to my fellow Rionya players. If you're going to pop off, make sure that when you do so, you take all of your opponents out then and there. Because if you don't, once they realize what Rionya can do, they're almost certainly going to focus you down and give you no breathing room until you're out of the game. Well, that's it for today's video. Now with March of the Machine just released, we actually got quite a few good new cards for Rionya that have just been added to the list, so hopefully when you see it played next time, you'll be able to see some of these new cards in action. But until then, take care, guys.